Luis Felipe Lopez, born December 19th, 1974. Let's take it back a little further, the 90s, where Showtime basketball had fizzled out, the Jordan era was at its peak, and everyone was looking for the next wave to ride. In comes a guy that seemed a perfect mix of those two. He had the personality of one of the greatest basketball entertainers ever, and the appearance of the most impactful, iconic, and most dominant. But he wouldn't be either of those guys because he simply wasn't as talented as those guys were. But beyond the surface reason, let's break down why Felipe Lopez, deemed the Dominican Michael Jordan, was a bust in the NBA. Yeah, that's right. Great guy, so it seems, but like Kuzma said, I gotta call it like it is. It's your boy JC Stunted Growth. Let's get it, man. Stunt number 1, the hype train was too fast. Felipe Lopez was caught in the perfect whirlwind for the hype storm to erupt around him. Besides being the perfect size for the era where everyone, not just the NBA, wanted to find the next Michael Jordan. I mean, every player 6'5" to 6'7" was deemed the next MJ. And they'd find all these unique twists to calling them this as well. For Lopez, his was the Dominican MJ. Great ring to it, right? Another addition to the storm was New York City. If you want anything promoted or hyped, especially a basketball player, drop him in New York. And that's what happened to Felipe, a Dominican national that moved to NY at the age of 14 and attended the famed Rice High School. In the 90s, New York media was the hub for everything sports news. Nothing blew up in the sports world without New York having its hand in it, whether concocting the story themselves or it being brought to them to break. They called New York the Mecca of basketball, and the news media was a huge reason why. I'd say 90% of the reason why. Don't get me wrong, there's been some great basketball players from New York, but without the hype train its media brings in, most of those guys would be seen as exactly what they turned out to be, regular. Felipe Lopez was regular, but what he did have was a community behind him that were thirsty for its great superstar player in the sports world to worship. Alex Rodriguez was just becoming a star when Lopez was being exalted. They would have David Ortiz, Sammy Sosa, and a host of others, but not in basketball. Felipe, with his big personality and catchy name, filled those shoes nicely, and the Dominican community fully got behind the hype train. Once a community as large as they were in a city like New York championed him, the capitalists followed suit and started to pump fuel into the Felipe Lopez hype train that would eventually crash. Had he been able to sit back and develop deficiencies in his game, he may have snuck up on the basketball world and been a nice surprise. But then again, sneaking up was never Lopez's personality. Before I get into stunt number 2, I'd like to salute this guy, Barrett, man. A lot of people want me to feature him, but in all honesty, I think Barrett was an extreme overachiever. That was 5'8", 5'9", played at a school not really popular outside the East Coast, wasn't a great scorer or assist man, and he still made the league. I loved watching him play, and I just want to salute him and give him his flowers for what he's done for guys like myself that watched and learned a lot from his play. He didn't have huge stunts or spurts to be featured in my opinion, but I want people to recognize him in some way, so salute, man. Stunt number 2, throw a rock in the ocean. Another huge stunt in Felipe Lopez's growth was the fact that he was not a good shooter. I don't want to say he was horrible, but his numbers were not flattering to say the least. And it's weird because he actually had a really nice form, elevation, and height to get it off. What I speculate is that while he was being videoed and hyped, he didn't take time to himself and really grind out those skills, man. I'll never say I'm the best basketball player ever, but one thing I know I can do is help someone else become their greatest self. And one thing I would have had Lopez doing is working on a jump shot he already had a good base for. With that said, visit stuntedgrowth3.com now for consulting, critique, and an honest opinion on your game, helping you to avoid growth stunts like this. In high school, Felipe didn't need to shoot the ball much. He was taller than most his matchups, seeing as NY was guard heavy at the time, and he was also very athletic and developed physically past his peers. He was a McDonald's All-American and Gatorade Player of the Year leaving high school. He chose to stay close to home and attend St. John's University, the perfect school that his train could continue to follow closely and would let him come in and be whatever he wanted to. Sports Illustrated saw a chance to capitalize on this hype and placed him on the cover before he even played a game in college, and were the first to deem him the Dominican Jordan. What Lopez should have done was taken that name seriously and perfect the one skill MJ was known for, his mid-range jumper, not only being a high flyer. In 4 years, he shot a career average of 29% from three, with a career low of 25%, 65% from the free throw line with a career low of 57%, and 41% from the field with career lows of 40%. For a wing player and a guy you're looking to franchise, that speaks volumes and would be the detriment to the name they bestowed prematurely upon him. In hindsight, nothing changed when he made it to the NBA either. But hey, when your hype train is that big and that fast, someone's gonna look to capitalize. Stunt number 3.
What more do you want from me? This is all I got.
I'm sorry, I had to bring that clip back. Hollywood is something else, man. But to respond to the baby boy actor, we wanted anything else from Felipe Lopez. As a wing player looking to come in and be the star for a team, you have to be able to do more than just be a mediocre scorer that can't shoot. Unfortunately, Lopez didn't have those tools in his bag. He scored mainly off fast breaks, being more physically gifted and with his athleticism, and that was it. He didn't get teammates involved much, he didn't rebound well, and he turned the ball over at a high rate for a wing player in college who doesn't bring the ball up the floor. Simply put, Lopez was lacking a lot. And none of this went noticed because once again, people, along with his own ego, rode his wave to the point the beach became dry. He would spend 4 years in college and be taken 24th overall by the Spurs and traded to the Vancouver Grizzlies. Another stunt for him, having to take his hype train all the way to Canada. Maybe if the Knicks had gotten him, things may have turned out a lot different. He would spend 5 seasons in the league as a journeyman in Vancouver, Washington, and Minnesota. He finished with averages of 5 points a game, 1 assist, and 1 rebound at 16 minutes a game. By his own accounts, the same media that championed him began to write nasty articles about him in the end. And that's how it goes, build you up to break you down. All in all, outside of basketball, he's working with the NBA Cares initiative to spread the game to his home country and provide community assistance as well. A fun personality that seems to be a great guy, but for these reasons, his growth was stunted. It's your boy JC Stunted Growth, stuntedgrowth3.com. I'm out.